She stood by him for 10 years until the day she was asked to bake his wedding cake. Heartbreak, betrayal, and sweet revenge unfold. Watch the twist you won't expect. In the heart of a bustling city, tucked between towering buildings and the hum of ambition, lived a girl named Amara. She was gentle, hopeful, and stubbornly loyal. Years ago, she met Elias, a man with nothing but a dream, an old guitar, and a talent for making promises. He was a struggling musician when they met, drifting from bar to bar, from dream to dream. Amara believed in him when no one else did. She cooked his meals, patched his worn-out clothes, and cheered the loudest at his empty bar gigs. When the rent was due and the fridge was empty, she picked up extra shifts at the bakery where she worked. She sold cookies and cupcakes, poured her passion into frosting and flavor, and funneled every extra cent into his dream. They shared a tiny one-bedroom apartment, a home made from laughter and late-night talks. He promised her the world when he had nothing in his hands. "One day, when I make it, everything will be ours," he would whisper, his voice full of belief. But dreams, like people, can change. Years passed. Elias's music caught fire. A viral video, a record deal, sold-out concerts. His name lit up marquees, and cameras flashed when he walked by. With success came distance, not just in miles but in heart. Amara, still baking cakes in a small kitchen downtown, watched his rise from the same couch where they once dreamed together. The last message she got from him was short: "I need space." No goodbye. No explanation. Just silence. Then, she saw it, a glossy magazine spread: Elias Gray to marry heiress Callista Vaughn in lavish ceremony this fall. Callista, with her porcelain skin and diamond smile, posed beside him in every shot. Amara stared at the article until the ink blurred. She didn't cry. Not right away. She just stared, her mind strangely still, her fingers curling around the page like it might tear the whole moment away. Weeks later, Amara received a message from an event planner. "Hello, we've been referred to your bakery for a high-profile wedding. The groom specifically requested your name. Are you available?" She read the name at the bottom. Elias Gray. It felt like a trap. Or maybe a test. Or maybe, just maybe, something else. She said yes. The days leading to the wedding were a blur of sugar and smoke. She worked like a woman possessed, sculpting, frosting, layering with an intensity she hadn't felt in years. Each flavor was selected with precision. The sponge was laced with the finest ingredients, the icing adorned with gold leaf, the filling, something special. She crafted the cake as if it were art. As if it were sacred. On the night before the wedding, she stood alone in the bakery, staring at the towering masterpiece. A six-tiered monument to love, betrayal, and something far darker. She reached into a small box, unwrapped a tiny vial, and whispered, "Here's to broken promises." Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows as guests flooded the cathedral. Laughter echoed in the air, wine flowed freely, and cameras clicked like insects. Amara arrived with the cake, wearing a simple black dress and a calm expression. No one recognized her, the forgotten girl in the background. She placed the cake with care, offered a tight smile to the planner, and quietly slipped into a seat at the back of the grand hall. The ceremony was a parade of excess. Callista walked down the aisle in a gown made of hand-stitched crystals, her father teary-eyed at her side. Elias stood at the altar, resplendent in a custom-made tuxedo, grinning like a man who had won the world. Their vows were rehearsed and hollow, echoing through the vaulted space. When the officiant declared them husband and wife, applause thundered. Then came the reception. The moment the cake was wheeled out, the crowd gasped. It was breathtaking. A true showstopper. Cameras circled, guests clapped, and Elias raised a glass toward Amara, a silent thank you, or maybe acknowledgement. She raised hers back. A final toast. The cake was cut. Slices served. Forks lifted. Smiles widened. And then. A strange silence, like the brief pause before a storm, settled over the room. It began with a soft gasp from one of the bridesmaids. She clutched her stomach and stumbled backward, knocking over a glass of champagne. Someone laughed nervously, thinking she was tipsy, until she collapsed to the floor, twitching. Another scream, sharper this time. A groomsman dropped his plate. His face drained of color. He doubled over, coughing violently, red staining the white napkin he pressed to his lips. Then chaos broke like a tidal wave. Callista let out a choked cry, her hands trembling as she reached for Elias, but he was already falling to his knees, eyes wide, his face contorting with pain. He tried to speak, but only a garbled sound came out, followed by a stream of blood. One by one, guests dropped like marionettes with cut strings, gasping, writhing, some slumping silently in their chairs, others vomiting violently before falling still. The string quartet stopped playing mid-note. A violin crashed to the floor. Amara remained seated. She watched it unfold with eerie calm, like a spectator at a tragic play she'd read the ending of long ago. Her heart didn't race. Her hands didn't shake. She just watched, her eyes fixed on Elias. He crawled toward her through the sea of dying bodies, his white shirt stained crimson, reaching out like he had something to say. His lips formed her name, barely a whisper. Amara. She stood, heels clicking slowly across the polished floor as she approached him. I baked your dreams, she said softly, kneeling beside him. Every one of them. And you fed me lies. His fingers grasped her dress weakly, then fell away. Behind her, Callista's body crumpled beside the cake, her perfect dress blooming with blood like a twisted flower. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Amara stood once more, straightened her dress, and walked toward the exit. No one stopped her. The guards were gone, the guests either dead or dying. The chandeliers above still glittered, catching the last of the day's light, casting rainbows on the fallen. The world outside was still unaware. Amara stepped out into the sun. Should I continue from here, or pause at this turning point? Outside, the wind was gentle, brushing against her skin like a breath from another world, one that didn't yet know what had happened inside the Vaughn estate. Amara walked slowly, deliberately, like someone strolling through a garden, not the scene of a massacre. Her hands, once dusted with flour and sugar, now hung calmly at her sides. Her face betrayed no emotion, not triumph, not sorrow, not regret. She walked 3 blocks before she heard the first scream from someone outside the gates. Then came the chaos. Police cars screeched around corners. An ambulance raced past her, its siren a piercing shriek that cut through the street like a warning shot. But she kept walking. No one looked at her twice, just a quiet woman in a black dress, leaving a party she was never meant to be remembered in. She ducked into a small alley, the one behind the old flower shop she used to visit when she first moved to the city. The scent of jasmine still lingered in the air. There, behind a loose brick in the wall, she had stashed a backpack 3 days ago. Just in case. She opened it now. Inside were clean clothes, cash, a burner phone, and a train ticket to a city 5 hours away. No one would think to look for her there. Amara changed in silence, pulling her hair into a low braid. She wiped her lips, removing the subtle gloss she wore, and looked into a cracked mirror someone had left behind years ago. The girl who stared back was not the same one Elias had left behind. That girl had cried herself to sleep, baked away her pain, and waited for a man who never came back. This woman, had written her story in blood and buttercream. She slipped out of the alley and onto a quieter street, one not yet touched by the sirens or screams. Meanwhile, inside the estate, officers tried to make sense of the carnage. Medics moved swiftly, checking pulses, shouting orders. The wedding planner, barely clinging to life, whispered something about the cake, the woman who. But no one knew her name. The bakery receipt had no signature. The planner had spoken to a middleman. No photos of her had been taken at the wedding, she had always stayed in the background, like a ghost. Invisible, yet unforgettable. They tested the cake and found it laced with a rare toxin, odorless, tasteless, nearly impossible to detect unless you knew where to look. It would take weeks for labs to identify the exact compound. By then, Amara would be long gone. Later that night, the train rocked gently as it moved out of the city. Amara sat by the window, watching the lights blur into the dark. Her phone buzzed once. A news alert. Breaking, musician Elias Gray and socialite bride die in mass poisoning at lavish wedding. She read it twice. Then once more, just to be sure. Then, she turned the phone off and dropped it out the window. The wind carried it away. She leaned her head against the glass and closed her eyes. And for the first time in years, she smiled. Want to keep going and explore what happens next where she goes, whether she's ever found, or if someone's already on her trail. The train cut through the night like a silver ghost, bound for nowhere and everywhere all at once. Amara didn't sleep. She sat still, her eyes open, watching the dark fields race by outside the window. The other passengers were quiet, buried in their phones, their books, their thoughts. None of them paid her any attention. That was the beauty of silence, it kept you invisible. By dawn, the train pulled into a small, sleepy town tucked between fog-covered hills. A place no headline would ever mention. No paparazzi. No music tours. No luxury gowns. Just gravel roads and the scent of rain on old brick. She stepped off the train, bag slung over her shoulder, and disappeared into the mist. 3 months later. In the quiet town of Marrow's End, there was a new bakery on the corner of Willow Lane. Locals whispered about the mysterious woman who ran it, always polite, never shared much. Her pastries were divine. Her cakes. Legendary. People came from nearby towns just to try a slice. She called the shop Reverie. Sometimes, when she closed for the day, she would sit in the back garden with a cup of tea, watching the wind play through the trees. She didn't listen to music anymore. She didn't need to. The world thought she was dead, the jilted ex who must have spiraled into oblivion after the wedding. No one ever found her. The investigation hit a dead end. Her name faded from the public eye like a chalk drawing in the rain. And that was exactly how she wanted it. One evening, a young couple came into the bakery. Engaged. Glowing with joy. They asked if she made wedding cakes. Amara looked at them for a long moment, the way they held hands, the way their eyes lit up when they talked about forever. She smiled gently. Yes, she said. But only for love that's real. They didn't understand, but they nodded. Paid their deposit. Left laughing. She watched them walk away, her smile fading slightly. Then she turned back to her kitchen, a place of flour, sugar, and secrets, and picked up her whisk. No more poison. No more revenge. Just peace. And maybe a little sweetness. The end. We have gotten to the end of this story. If you know you love this story, please kindly like and subscribe so you'll get more videos like this. Kindly comment your opinion on this. Sometimes we have to be careful who we play with.